Okay, we might have one or two more people joining.
No.
And please, again, put yourself on mute, turn on your video, and we are going to get started. Welcome. My name is Lyle Benjamin. I'm the founder and executive director of Planned Acts of Kindness. And today we're going to be going over our internship mentorship program, as well as Planned Act programs and how you can develop your skills as managers and leaders in the different professions that you've studied in school, but also to really expand your scope about what you're capable of doing out in the real world by not only doing real world activities, but by adding in 8 foundation skills as well. And some of you have already been in the program just a little bit. Some of you are new, but we're going to do a very quick overview of our programs. And all of our programs are based on the formula education plus action equals objectives. When we go to school, we're given task lists to do, and we do those assignments, we turn it in and we get a grade. And, you know, unless you're doing an internship or something like that, literally the 4 years we spend as an undergraduate, nothing ever happens because of the work that we turn in. And our learning also is really theoretical and limited. It doesn't really equate with what's going on in the real world. So our program is based on doing real world work up to a very high level of professionalism. And what we teach is how to achieve objectives. And then we add in the skills that you need in order to achieve those objectives. So it doesn't matter whether you're doing IT, graphic design, business, you need to have communication skills. You need to know the terminology and the language that's used in your industry. And you need to be able to work with coworkers, management, stakeholders, shareholders. Everyone agree? And we're on Zoom and you're on mute, so you got to go ahead and give me good nonverbal feedback. No, yes, thumbs up, great, right? All those good things. Okay, cool. So communication is number one. Warren Buffett, kind of an intelligent guy, fairly successful, in 2019 said, if you want to increase your earnings by 50% over your career, the number one skill you have to have is communication. And that's across the board. So communication, business, marketing. If you don't know these things about what your company is trying to do or doing, right, you're not going to be successful in what you're doing. You need to know management skills, project management skills. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're doing writing, whether you're doing visual communication, whether you're doing IT, whether you're doing business. You have to know how to manage your projects in the most optimal way. We get master's students in finance, economics, and business that don't know how to set up project management spreadsheets. Okay, and we use that. We use a combination of different things in order to push the programs forward. So you're going to learn how to do what we call line item outlines. You're going to learn how to do proposals. You're going to learn how to do larger projects based on that. You're going to learn how to go ahead and incorporate those into spreadsheets in order to manage your project efficiently. You're going to have to know office technology. Okay, probably better than what you're doing today, because you've got to do it on the business level. You're going to learn different software applications, because depending on what field you're in, they're using software. And you might go for a job interview and they say, hey, right, we're using blah, blah, blah software. Are you familiar with it? Well, you've got a few choices. okay? Either you've used it and you know it, right? Or you've used a software that's similar so that you can learn theirs very, very quickly. Or you have no familiarity at all, and you do not want to go ahead and fabricate information at any time during your professional career. So the thing is, we go ahead and give you the opportunity to learn software in different fields that you're in, so that when you go for an interview, even if they're not giving, even if the software that they're using, right, isn't something that you've used similar type software in that industry, and you learn from us what you can say so that you can be a viable candidate for that company. This is a mentorship program. This is not a straight internship program. Many internships, you go in, they teach you what you need to do, and then you just replicate that for your entire internship. That's not what we do here. You're going to have one, two, three, multiple projects that you're going to work on, because you want to go ahead and get exposure to a lot of different aspects that relate to your industry, so that you can make a really good career choice in the future. The problem is that we're asked to go ahead and declare what our majors are before we know really a heck of a lot about the profession. And then we continue to go to school, we take some courses in it, we think we know, we get out in the real world, and it's not what we thought it was. So the unfortunate statistic is 3 to 5 years down the road, 75% of us who have graduated will not be in the same field that we went to college for our undergraduate or even graduate. And actually, I'm one of those 75%. Okay. I grew up in Florida, went to University of Florida for my undergraduate, which was in English Lit, with a specialization in what's called literary criticism, where you had to analyze works of literature. You then had to go ahead and write about it. So your analytical skills had to be pretty much off the chart. Your writing skills had to match. And I wanted to go to law school to help people, because I started working at a very young age. I had a difficult childhood with family. And when I started working, I met people and they helped me tremendously just by talking to me, just by showing an interest. And later, it was parents of friends who I went to school with, and also teachers in high school and college. And those things really made an impact on my life in a positive way. And I knew I couldn't repay those people. So I figured I'll go to law school and help people. So I went to law school. I ended up doing my internship with the Attorney General's office in the Litigation Bureau in Albany, New York, state capital for New York, one of the best positions in the country. And I wrote memorandums of law on public health and other issues. And they offered me a job. And I said, thank you. I'm flattered, but no, thank you. I felt that I was a hired gun. I felt that just because I can do something fairly well doesn't make it the best way to handle the situation. So I ended up leaving the profession. And because of what I had done as an undergraduate, and even when I was in law school, I had a business. I expanded that when I graduated, and I had a marketing, design, and printing company. And then I created a prototype for a national newsstand magazine that was psychologically based, communication based, on how people can go ahead and get the most out of all their relationships, intimate, family, friendship, and work, because I felt there were two things in our life. Sleep is neutral, so you throw that one out. There's work and there's your relationships. So what happens with work? We go to school for 12, 16, 18, 20, 24 years. When we get out, there's continuing education, there's seminars, books, all these different things that you can do in order to be the best worker you can be, or the best manager, or the best leader you can be. And then what happens on the relationship side? You talk to your parents, right? Or you see what your parents did, you talk to your friends, and then you still screw it up, right? Because we don't have, right, the same focus on educating us on what we need to do to be successful in relationships. So that was the area that I focused on. But magazines are very, very, very expensive to do. And although people and the psychological community love the publication, right, I didn't have all the backing I needed to go ahead and do it for whatever. So after that, I also went ahead and designed games. I designed a best-selling game and went into partnership with a company in California. And just from people walking into stores, it sold over 40,000 copies. And they did no advertising, no marketing for it. They just used it to collect money. But I went into entrepreneurial business, and I was fairly successful in different industries. And about 11 years ago, I gave it all up to start my first nonprofit, which was 16 Things Kids Can Do. And it was designed to go ahead and help kids of all ages through a series of books, workshops, programs. And in 2016, after the election in this country, I realized we were going to go down a road that was not going to end well for millions of people because of the divisiveness of what was going on. So I created Planned Acts of Kindness as a program, and it's now a global social responsibility platform where the foundation is the Karma Club, where every day you wake up and there's a new planned act of kindness that you can do with your friends, family, coworkers, and in your community. And the goal is to have tens of millions of people in the United States, hundreds of millions of people around the world, waking up and doing the same planned act of kindness on the same day and unleashing that much positive, powerful energy into the world. The keys to living happier, healthier lives, not a question of how much money you make, not a question of, how many drugs you take, how many toys you have, but really it's the quality of your relationships and your sense of community. And that's what Planned Acts enhances in people. And what I did was I gamified karma. So there are 4 different achievements that you do during the course of a month. And when you do those, you can level up, and then you're eligible for free gifts that we give away to random people in the Karma Club. Our goal by the end of this year is to be in all 200 countries with the Karma Club and to be giving away hundreds of gifts a day to random people in the Karma Club. Now, that's goal number 1. Goal number 2 is, at a moment's notice, to pull these millions of people together to go ahead and get governments and companies to do the right thing for kids, people, and the planet. The problems of the world that you are all inheriting, climate change, pollution, overpopulation, pandemics, war, terrorism, these are problems that you had nothing to do with creating, really. But you're going to have to work on solving them. And what we don't need are more workers. We need managers and leaders. So that's what our program works on developing, to expand, right, what you are capable of doing in your career while instilling maybe a sense of social responsibility, of global citizenship in what you do. Okay? And it doesn't matter whether you're doing IT, whether you're doing analytics, whether you're doing database management. It doesn't matter whether you're doing graphic design, whether you're doing visual communication, whether you're doing social media, outreach and engagement. It doesn't matter whether you're doing business, marketing, management, public relations, human resources. You all can go ahead. You all will benefit from the programs, right? But the thing is, you all can go ahead and be the inspiration for other people to change their behaviors and do more themselves. Okay, so I was talking about the problems of the world, and those are, problems that the tipping points are not 20, 30 years from now. They're actually this decade. And if we don't work collaboratively to solve these tipping points, the world is going to be tremendously different for billions of people. You know, if you think about what's gone on with the pandemic over the last year, okay, you can be in different fields in business and all of a sudden you don't have a job. And the same thing can apply because of climate change, because of pollution, because of other issues. So the thing is, right, it's not just solving them to prevent, it's the ripple effect of what these problems are going to do across countries, just like with the pandemic. Okay, so the thing is, our organization is different from all other NPOs and NGOs around the world. If you went into Columbia School of Nonprofit Management for your master's, they're going to teach you that you got to have one mission, one clear focus so that you can outreach. That's the fractional approach. And the reason why they do it that way is because they want to fundraise and they're in competition with other organizations that are doing similar things for dollars. Now, do you think that's going to help solve problems? Because you're in competition with people on working, right, for the same objective? No, you've got to collaborate with those other groups in order to achieve objectives. Okay, so the thing is, in our internship program, the way it works is that when you come in, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to share screen so I can give you some visuals, okay, on what we're talking about. Okay, everyone see this okay? Do I get yeses? Do I get nods, thumbs up? Okay, that's good. All right, so the thing is, when you come into Planned Acts of Kindness's program, you're actually coming into the One Planet, One People program and the club program with the 4 pillars of civility, social responsibility, volunteerism, and global citizenship. And I'll get into this in a minute. But like we said, we're at the tipping point for humanity, and this decade will determine quality of life for billions, and the time for division is over. So the thing is that in our organization, we have many different programs in order to help achieve our objectives. And the thing is that we deal with 5 groups of people: students, employees, owners, retirees, and the unemployed. And we do that in conjunction with 5 types of institutions: schools, faith-based, NPO, NGOs, governments, and businesses. And our internships are custom. So we're going to find out what your major is, what you're interested in doing, and what groups of people you're also interested in doing outreach to. What types of institutions, right, you want to reach. Now, sometimes it's all 5 of them. If you're doing an app, right, it's usually not targeted right away. It's any one of these institutions can participate. Okay, so we do everything from books to websites and applications in different areas to we have programs, events, and it's designed to really go ahead and impact quality of life for people. We do educational programs. We're developing programs now to go into the school year in the fall, but not only for the United States, but for school systems around the world that's age-based, using the Karma Club and the Planned Acts of Kindness and the One Planet, One People clubs as their foundation. Racism, gender issues, that, incivility, all these social issues. These are not things that we're born with. These are things that people learn and develop over time. And our goal is to implement programs that are fully scalable across country lines, where civility and kindness form the foundation in people's lives. And that will act as prevention for people growing up and developing some of the antisocial behaviors that cause major issues in the world. Okay, so we deal with civility and kindness, equality of life for all, health and well-being, social justice, gender and racial tolerance, collaboration skills, and global issues. Okay, and then with our One Planet, One People Club program, which all the interns are coming into, it's to provide youth with a support program that helps them build quality relationships and a strong sense of community while doing engaging activities that provide quality of life for people, regardless of nationality, race, religion, age, gender, education, or income. And then we have our Karma Club gamified, our books, workshops, courses, crazy ambitious activities, right? Our Project Cope wellness program, our Sirem social institutional reform program. Everything we do is fully aligned with the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And every single one of your majors is applicable to every single one of these programs. So it doesn't matter that we're not an app development company that just develops apps. That doesn't matter at all. Okay, we have we have the ability to develop apps in multiple areas. We have the ability to do game development in multiple areas. We have the ability to do, publications in multiple areas. And that's how we work collaboratively with the different institutions in order to help them achieve their objectives through our programs. So we have books, we have, on different subjects, including financial literacy. This is a book I've written also where we're going to be giving away a memorial book to every family in the world who lost a loved one due to COVID-19 in order to help them keep the joy and the memories alive of that person for themselves, their family, and future generations. You might be working on social media, public relations, marketing, right? Sponsorship for that. And when you work on a book, your name goes into the book in the acknowledgement section. When you work on an app, your name goes into that in the credits. So the thing is, our goal is to go ahead and give you tangible skills where the learning takes place, not from turning it in, getting a grade and getting a few comments. The learning takes place in the growth that you do in order to get it up to the level of professionalism that we require in order for us to reach out to the CEOs, the founders, the governments in these institutions. So when you go ahead and take on a project, you first have to know and write what your objective is. Then you have to outline the steps that you're going to go ahead and utilize to achieve that objective. And you're not going to do this from your own experience. You're going to have to research. You're going to have to apply creative and critical thinking. You're going to have to analyze and synthesize information. You're going to have to problem solve, and you're going to have to use time management as well as communication skills in order to do that effectively. And you're going to turn in your work and show your work, to other people on your team, to myself for evaluation and analysis. And then you're going to go back and you're going to revise. And you might have to revise 2, 3, 4, 5 times to get it up to the level that we require. Because the thing is, we don't do things for 80, 90% of the population who's going to look at what we do and say, oh yeah, that's good, because they're not applying any type of critical skills to the analysis. We do it to the C-suite level who can look at the work that we do and say, oh yeah, I can see where this can go ahead and make a difference. That's how I was able to talk to Pfizer Pharmaceutical about what their objectives were in sustainability, and they were interested in doing a book and an app through us that educated their workers all over the world about safety issues that would improve their community relations. And then COVID-19 hit. And we were talking to Kroger Groceries about doing a book on food loss, hunger, and waste. February 24th of last year, I was at the United Nations and I presented this book on mental health to collaborate with the UN. They loved it, they agreed to do it. 2 weeks later, the UN was shut down. We were doing another book with the Wesleyan Church, and I was supposed to go in March to speak to 109 churches in order to do a book and an app on community issues. And that conference never happened. First time they've canceled it because of COVID-19. And the churches actually are still shut down to a certain extent, even today. So the thing is that everything that you do in our program is designed to be utilized in the real world. And have an impact. And we're going to make it quantifiable as well. So Project COPE is a health, happiness, and wellness program that's available for everyone, and is available through our app. And people take a questionnaire, which is an assessment that gives them a baseline wellness score. They then do the activities in the Karma Club, and then they retake the assessment every 2 weeks. And over a 30, 60, 90-day cycle, we can show them how doing the activities in the Karma Club and changing their behavior can actually improve their health, happiness, and wellness in order to reduce anxiety, stress, depression, suicidal tendencies, aggressive tendencies, because people feel isolated, right? And they lash out. And this program can be used not only by individuals, but families, where we can customize an app, friends, where we can customize an app, teams or groups, as well as institutions, where we pull the programs out, we customize it, and then they use it for their shareholders and stakeholders. So you might be doing graphic design, you might be doing writing, you might be doing communication, you might be doing IT, right? Whatever, all those different fields go into the work that we do. So everyone see that? If you understand that, right, raise your hand.
Yes.
Okay, so we got a lot of hands raised. Okay, I can't see everybody's hand. And if you're on Zoom, you don't want to be doing this, you don't want to be doing this. You want to actually raise your hand where people can see it, just like Kyle's doing. Okay, you've got to go ahead and learn to be professional when you're in meetings. And we're going to tell you, thank you, you can put your hands down. Yeah, we're going to tell you what you need to do at every step of your development to be professional. Because unfortunately, when you go to school, they don't go ahead and tell you this. And when you're in meetings, whether you're on job interviews or later you're working with a company, and you don't do things that are in alignment with their corporate culture, they're not going to necessarily tell you that right away, but you're not getting promoted. So the thing is, we're going to go ahead and tell you everything that you need to know in order to move from that worker mentality to that management and leadership. Because some of you might continue with our organization. And through our One Planet, One People Club, which we're going to transfer to in a second and go over that, you're going to see the structure of how that's set up. And it will, you know, depending on what you do, then you can move up in the organization in order to improve your skills in those areas. You know, the people who get promoted into management and leadership, they are not the ones with the greatest technical skills. If you have really great technical skills, you know what happens? You generally stay as a worker. The people who are in management and leadership understand company objectives. They know how to communicate effectively with coworkers, with management, with shareholders and stakeholders. They know how to utilize, right, the foundation skills. Okay, so that's what we go ahead and mentor you on. There are other programs that we have. We're working in Sirem, right, which I'm not going to go into because it's too detailed and it'll take too long, right? But this is a social responsibility and engagement program that centers around the pillars of One Planet, One People: civility, social responsibility, volunteerism, and global citizenship, as they're impacted by the institutions. And then we have panel discussions on how to go ahead and utilize our programs to help solve these global social issues. So we bring in, right, high level people of influence in these areas in order to go ahead and have discussion groups. But everything we do is based on education and action. So it's, you know, like I said, I went to law school. I took contracts in law school. I didn't learn to write a contract till I was out of law school. Okay, to me, that's not a good system. So our internship program is really going back to what was successful for thousands of years. Anyone know what that is? If you do, right, raise your hand, unmute yourself, and by all means, speak up. What was the educational system that was used for thousands of years? That was the most successful ever. Okay, no one's going to speak up. I guess I'll go ahead and just continue. Anyone hear of the word apprenticeship? Now we get some nods. Okay, that's how people were educated in the past. Okay, you learn from following what someone who's successful does, and they teach you what they're doing in their work. Is that what we do in school? Nope. Okay, so we combined your education in school with that apprenticeship mentorship mentality in order to go ahead and get you to the level that you need to be. Not as a worker though. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch over to the club program. Okay, because this is what is going to form the foundation, the framework of what you're going to be in order to do your internship effectively. So in our One Planet, One People clubs, and this is really good stuff because all this goes into your resume, all this goes into your letter of recommendation when you successfully complete your internship. And then also what we're going to do is work on building you a portfolio, regardless of what your major is. You know, if you're a writer, you know you got to have a writing portfolio. If you're in graphic design, you know you got to have a graphic design portfolio. If you're an actor, right, or in theater, you know you got to have clips, right, which is your reel to go ahead and show. Well, you're in IT. You should have a portfolio, and it should not be school-based work. No employer really wants to see what you've done in school. They want to see what you've done in the real world. And whenever possible, right, if it's quantifiable. So this is your opportunity to develop the skills and develop your portfolio. Because in business, you can have a portfolio. In IT, you can have a portfolio. In any of the professions, you can have a portfolio. So we want you to help make a difference, right? From pandemics to policy to the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. If you don't know what those are, right, you'll find out about them later. We take people into our program, all interests, all talent, all backgrounds welcome. But if you're interested in doing graphic design and your major's graphic design, we're not going to teach you how to use Photoshop. You should know how to use Photoshop. We're at a much, much higher level than that. Okay. So we talked about our 4 pillars, and this is the structure of our One Planet, One People movement. So we have planned acts of kindness. We have our career track management. Okay. You're on the career track management program. So our internships actually go 3 months in terms of that's the hardcore internship. And then there's a month of follow-up where you do your reporting and you're collecting data to make it quantifiable. Okay, and wrapping it up. So minimum, right, it's 4 months. But we've had people actually do 2 years in our program. We've had people who have done the internship while they were in school, right, left, graduated, and then came back after they graduated and done another internship to help them get the job that they wanted. Okay, so it works lots of different ways. We have, you know, actually over 30 different disciplines, but in major fields of interest. Okay, we have 6 different action areas where we develop systems and content for those institutions and those groups of people, our 5x5, which I explained earlier. So we work from the grassroots up and we work from the top down. Most of you, like 98%, will be working from the top down on the institutional level of engagement with what you do. So you're going to learn how to work with institutions, which are people in those institutions. Okay, this outlines, right, the steps that we do in the club program, which you'll go ahead and have access to, and what you're going to be doing. Like I said, there's many different areas, and then there's a breakdown in those areas of different fields. When you go ahead and successfully do your internship, I just wrote a letter of recommendation for Prama, who has been in our program for 10 months, and he's in the process of finishing his studies for his MCAPs. And I just wrote a letter of recommendation for him to get into med school. So he was very happy with that. Okay, and this is the manual that governs how the clubs work. And it's kind of long, but you don't have to go into all the different areas of it. But this is broken down into like a corporate structure. So you're going to go ahead and learn corporate structure as well. Because what's your objective? Your objective is to go and work in a company, okay? Or start your own business somewhere down the road. Well, don't you think you need to know how corporations are set up, how they run, how to manage? Anyone think so? Right? Raise your left hand this time. Okay, we got people who have willingness to learn. Okay, so thank you for that. And if you think that I'm controlling by asking you to raise your right hand, raise your left hand, that's not the reason. That's our healthcare program. That's how we get exercise. Okay, if I just ask you to raise your hand and you're always raising your right hand, then you're imbalanced, right? So I got to go ahead and say, raise your left, raise your right, right? And that's your healthcare program with our organization. Okay, now, right? Another thing that you're going to learn is you're on Zoom. Okay. You're supposed to be professional. Yes. Everyone agree? Okay. So one of the things that you don't want to do on Zoom is to be on meetings where you're like this during the whole meeting. And this is your personality. What do you think your coworkers and management are going to think about? And I want you to unmute and I want you to address this question. What do you think they're going to think if all you do is sit there like this during the whole meeting?
That you're uninterested.
That you're uninterested. Go ahead. Go next person.
Or you're just not interested enough and you're just pretending that you're interesting.
Okay, one of the things that you need to do on Zoom is you need to speak up loudly, clearly, so that people can really hear you very well. Because communication is really important to everything that you do. So please say that again. Repeat what you just said, please.
Yeah, like one thing is that you're not interested at all, but like another case can be that you are interested but not interested enough, and you're just pretending because you need it for something else and not for yourself. So you're just sitting there pretending that you want that, and like in reality you're not listening, you're not communicating, and you're not getting anything. So yeah, you're just wasting your time. It's not good
Well,
for you.
you're wasting it. It's not your time. It's
Yeah.
you're wasting other people's time.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And believe me, coworkers notice, managers notice, stakeholders and shareholders notice. So the thing is, you're going to have to learn how to go ahead and not only interact on these platforms like Zoom, because that's what we're reduced to now, but how you position yourself. So Ben Yang, right, in terms of how he's positioned in this call is 100% correct. Okay. Some of you are all the way back, okay, where you're in the middle of the screen or below. That's not where you want to be. Some of you are a little bit too high, right, where the top of your heads are cropped. That's not where you want to be. Okay. So you need to know all of these little things that are going to really help you go from that, right, uninformed worker or the college student who doesn't know into a professional. Okay. And it's very much dependent on how you engage. Okay. One of the things that they say, successful people who interview with companies, the people that they hire in terms of what HR looks for are not the people who are sitting back, who appear to be confident, but it's the people who are leaning forward, who are listening attentively, who are showing facial, right, expression that they're interested in what you're saying. When you get onto meetings with our professional success team, you will see exactly what I'm talking about with every single one of them, because they're at that very, very high level. And do you really want to come in and be completely different from that level of professionalism? Heck no. So the thing is, you've got to put into practice from a very early stage what you need to do to be management and leadership. Okay. So if management makes a joke, this is what this all started with, okay, and you just sit there, what does that show? It shows, right, either you have no sense of humor, you weren't paying attention, you don't care, you're not a team player. And one of the worst things to be in a company is not a team player. Okay? So the thing is, you've got to always be thinking about what is going on with you and how you're interacting. When you're in our program, what's going to happen is you're going to learn things. You're going to have to turn around and share them with a team. That's part of your management and leadership skills. You're going to have to learn how to analyze other people's work, not only your own. And you're going to have to learn how to communicate. You're going to have to learn the technology, the terminology in your field. And you're going to have to use it appropriately. That's how you get to that level of success. So let's, see if during the course of the remainder of the Zoom, if you can employ some of the things that I'm talking about, because that shows that you want to go ahead and learn the behavior. You want to go ahead and change your behavior. You have that willingness to learn. And the thing is, there are 4 characteristics that will determine whether you're really suitable for our program. And it's not your skills. You're here to develop your skills at a much, much higher level. It's 4 characteristics that you have. 1, right? Do you have a desire to go ahead and really, help people in some form or fashion? If you don't have any resonance with our programs, don't come into our program. Okay, you're not going to be a good fit. So there has to be something in our programs that you want to participate in for more than just your career development, because it speaks to you in some way. It's not there, don't come in. 2, you've got to have determination. The thing is, we're going to teach you things that are completely different than what you learned in school. In school, you're all great students. You've been trained on it for 12, 16 plus years. So you know how to do tasks. You know how to do assignments. Okay? We're going to teach you how to do objectives, how to use those 8 foundation skills to be successful in the real world. And you're going to have to redo your work 2, 3, 4, 5 times to get it up to that CEO level that we require to use it in the real world. Because there's no busy work in our organization. You're not coming in to go ahead and do tasks, turn it in, get a grade, and a few comments. You're doing things so that hopefully, right, hundreds of thousands, millions of people are going to be seeing the results of what you've worked on. So you've got to have the determination to go ahead and do those different iterations of what you're working on, because that's where the learning takes place. The learning doesn't take place because you get an assignment, do some tasks, turn it in. The learning takes place because, right, you know what your objective is, you're able to articulate it, you know how to outline, you know how to go ahead and develop what you're working on. And you show that, and then you get immediate feedback where you find out, yeah, I didn't really understand the objective that well, right? The tasks, right? The steps that I'm going to take aren't going to get me to that objective. The notes that I took during a meeting, I didn't go ahead and follow those notes when I did my revisions. So I'm going to have to go back and incorporate what I didn't do. When I incorporated the notes, I didn't notice that it changed some other things. And now I've got some errors in some other areas that I've got to go ahead and correct. These are all the situations that you're going to run into with your work. And the learning takes place in those revisions that you do, so that the next time you're doing a project, you can do it much more efficiently. much more effectively in much less time. And the real goal is to get you to extrapolate what you've learned in one situation into non-analogous situations. Okay, so this all came from you guys not responding properly and appropriately to a joke I made. Geez, you see how things are all connected? Okay, so see, now Daniel got that, right? That's another opportunity for him to acknowledge what the speaker is saying, right? And to form a connection. See, the thing is, what you have to realize is that in everything you do, there's an objective. Yes? You all agree with that? Let's hear it. Okay. So the thing is, in order to go ahead and achieve that objective, you've got to go ahead and make a connection. So if you're sitting there, and I'm using this as just an example, okay, because there's a lot of other things that will go ahead and work, this will work for as well. If you sit there like this during meetings, are you making a connection with the people that you're talking to? No, you're not. You make the connection by engagement. And for some of you, that's completely, right, diametrically opposed to what you've been doing for 12, 16, 18 years. You don't speak up in class, right? You're in groups, right? And you do your work, and you might do more than your work, but you're not really that engaged with the people that, you know, you're in the team with, okay? So this is going to be difficult, but this is how you've got to do it in order to move up. So the ones who are going to have the most difficulty are the ones who need it the most. So the formula, anybody remember the formula I gave you that we use in all our programs? If you do, right, unmute yourself and say what it is. We've got 39 people on the call, okay? I wonder how many were taking notes about what I was talking about. I wonder, okay? You know, and what you're going to learn is when you go to meetings, you better have a way to take notes, even if it's on Zoom. And it shouldn't be handwritten notes. You should have a notepad, right, set up on your computer, right, or on your phone where you can go ahead and type in pertinent stuff. If you're in our internship in our office where we take 25 full-time people over the summer, pre-COVID-19, if you come into a meeting without a notepad, you go out of the meeting. There's no point in, right, having people talk and you relying on your memory. So the formula I told you before was E plus A equals O. Anyone know what it stands for? So you're going to learn how to listen much more effectively than you do now, because you can't go into meetings in companies and not absorb information. You agree with that? Because
Yes.
what's going to happen? They're going to explain something that you're going to be working on. You're going to go out of the meeting, and then you're going to be at a loss as what the heck to do, or you're going to go down the wrong path. So come on. The formula is E plus A equals O. Education plus action equals objectives. Now, even though I said the formula one time, I gave multiple examples of how we use it in our programs. Yes? Okay. The first part of the formula is you start with the original objective, and then you make a connection. I don't care what field you're in, everything you're doing is designed to make that connection in some way, shape, or form. And then from that connection, you can make a relationship. If you don't have the connection, you can't make the relationship. So your objective when you're on Zoom is to make the connection, to push the relationship forward so that you can go ahead and do education plus action to achieve the original objective. Now, if this makes sense to you, what I'm talking about, right? Raise your hand. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, okay, thank you, right? Let me know. So everyone get it? Okay, thank you. So the thing is that, let me switch to a different, this is the corporate structure. I'm not going to go through the manual. But let's see, let me go into a different area. Okay, so what you're all going to get is a link to this particular folder. And let's see, I got my screens overlapping. So I've got to find out where the heck I am. Okay, but I'll get it in here some way. Let's see. Well, I've got to find it. Before the end of this call, I will put that shared link in the chat. And what you're going to do is you're going to fill out your name, first name, last name, your college, your major, if you have minors, okay? And then we have in our club different departments. We have different committees that focus on these areas, which pretty much correspond to a lot of your majors, right? And then we have our action areas, clubs, books, games. Okay, now, like I said before, you might be doing IT web app development, and right, it might be utilized in all of these things, just as it might be utilized in all of the different, it might be used in all of the different institutions in terms of outreach and engagement to those institutions, okay? And then over a certain time period, we're gonna start moving people into executive positions in the club. And there might be co-presidents, co-vice presidents, co-communication, co-treasurers, and department managers, committee managers, and action area managers. You're right. How many of you want to go into management and leadership? Raise your left hand. Okay. How many of you want to be workers? Raise your hand. So Davina wants to be a worker. Okay. Some of you don't have your pictures up, your videos up, so I can't see. Okay. And Davina, what field are you going into?
Graphic design.
Okay. So you want to spend your entire career, right, going ahead and doing graphic design just in your own cubicle, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So the thing is, the company has a position open where a graphic designer can go ahead and get promoted and then work with the art director, the marketing department, and C-suite on concepts for programs. Do you have an interest in that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Well, guess what? You're not going to be doing it. Okay. I'm an art director. Okay, I've done everything from national newsstand magazines to best-selling games to books to all the content that you see. Actually, I do the program development, the systems development. I do all the writing. Remember what my undergraduate was? Okay. Literary criticism and English lit. My minors were creative writing and speech communication. But my professional business was entrepreneurial marketing, design, and printing. That's how I was able to go ahead and create prototypes for games and for magazines, where Time Warner and cable news both offered me contracts on my magazine, where Hasbro, right, invited me to the national headquarters to show my games. And I was like, why are you inviting me? You don't accept games from outside developers. And they said, yeah, but we saw what you've done and we really like it. And so we thought we'd invite you and say hi. So people around me were like, aren't you worried they're going to steal your games? I'm like, nah, they're Hasbro. What are they going to do? They can steal my stuff? I don't think so. Right. So I went and they showed me around and I showed them some stuff and they said really good stuff. Later, I was invited by a billion-dollar company in China that wanted me to develop interactive games for their karaoke clubs. Okay. But they wanted me to move to China. I found out after they invited me for 2 years. Right. And I said, thank you. I'm not going to do that right now. Okay. I got my nonprofit to do. So the thing is, you know, you want to be open and have the skills so that when opportunities arise, you can take advantage of it. Because what you think you want today may not be what you want 3 years down the road. So do you really want to go ahead and limit yourself? No. You want to get as much information as you can. I was talking to somebody in Sri Lanka last night. That's a country that's below India, in case you don't know. Okay, I had to look on the map myself. Geography, I suck. All right, you see, now, you see, right, Mahir, right, is smiling. Sorry if I mispronounce your name, right? Some of you are like, that's an opportunity for you to make a connection with me. I do suck in geography, okay? So smile, people. My God, what's it gonna take to get you to go ahead and learn and change your behavior a little bit, right? Ying, can you smile? There you go. How hard was that? What a difference it makes. Richard, there, right? Okay, I know Kyle can. Andrea, I'm not sure if I've seen you really smile that much. Okay, thank you. See, this isn't hard, okay? And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And the more you find you're making connections with people, the more people want to work with you. I'll give you a great example, okay? I told you before that I just finished a letter of recommendation for one of my interns who's going to med school, wants to go to med school. He told me the requirement for turning in the letter of recommendation was 1 page. I wrote a 2-page letter of recommendation. So what do you think he said? Come on, let's go. Let's speed it up. What do you think he said? Nobody can participate here. I got 40 people on the call. Nobody can go ahead and speak up.
He said that he really appreciated it, although it was like over the 1-page requirement.
And what? That's all he said? There's got to be a.
I mean, he probably talked about how great, like how much he appreciated working with you and like all that jazz.
Okay, it's either a yes or a no. Either yes, it's got to be 1 page, okay, and I've got to change it, right? Or no, it's not 1 page and I can submit it. So what do you think he said?
He probably said, no, it's got to be 1 page.
That's what he said. And what do you think I said?
I will help you do the 1 page.
I did not say that. I did not say that. Okay. What I said is this a written requirement? He said, no. I said, where did you get the requirement? He said, from my academic advisor. I said, I find it hard to understand that they're going to go ahead and limit this to 1 page through an electronic submission. Because when you ask for a letter of recommendation, do you normally go ahead and say, hey, I want a letter of recommendation, but you got to limit it to 1 page? Does that make any sense to people? No, that's never been how I've ever been asked to go ahead and do a letter of recommendation with a limitation. So I said, did you actually speak to your advisor about this? And he said, yes, I went after you wrote the letter, I went and I asked him point blank. And he said, 1 page. And I said, if that's the case, it's going to take me, like, my letterhead, which it has to be on, has a lot of design elements in it. So I'm going to have to redesign it to try to get it to fit. I'm going to have to either change the point size. I'm going to have to either change it to a legal document. So it's not a 8.5 by 11, right? But I get a few extra inches. Those are all solutions to giving you 1 page. Or I can just go ahead and spend a lot of time and I can cut out things that I thought were necessary to give you the best letter of recommendation possible. What would you like me to do? Do you want me to go ahead and cut down your letter of recommendation? Or do you want me to go ahead and fight for you so that you'll have the best opportunity to get into med school? So he said, well, I really don't want you to cut down your letter of recommendation, but I feel like I've got to give them what they said they wanted. So I said, you know, what you could have done is say, they said the requirement was 1 page, you submitted 2 pages. Would you mind going ahead and speaking to them directly in order to resolve this? But you didn't. You could have given me their phone numbers, their email, and everything else. And this was Friday afternoon at 4 something in the afternoon. I said, the reason why I'm going through this like this with you is because I care about your success. And he knows that. You know, he's been in the program for 10 months when he originally signed up for a 4-month internship. Okay. So he knows that. And he texted me over a couple of his advisors. I went ahead and called the department and I explained the situation to the person I spoke to. And she was laughing over the phone at, you know, the situation. Because even though she doesn't write letters of recommendation for med school, she thought it was kind of arbitrary if it was just 1 page. And some of the solutions I came up with, like changing the point size, making it legal, right? She thought that was hysterical. Okay. So what she volunteered to do was to immediately send an email to all the parties outlining the situation and requesting that they get back to us as soon as possible, because the deadline is Monday for this. So she wrote up a very good, very succinct, right, email explaining the situation, requesting, and then sent that out. Within an hour, we got a response back. No problem with it being 2 pages. Right? Thank you for, your interest in helping Prama. Okay? So the thing is, what do you learn from this situation? Just because, right, you're told something doesn't necessarily make it the way it has to be. And if you apply the other skills to what you're doing, because you know what your objective is. My objective was to give him the best damn letter I can go ahead and do. Right? Not to go ahead and cut some guts out of it to conform to an arbitrary requirement. So, do I go ahead and take, right, what he says as the only way to handle this situation? Cut it to 1 page? No. Okay, but then again, I don't always want to go ahead and tell, when you come into the program, we're not going to tell you what to do every step of the way. We want you to think about what needs to be done to achieve that objective. And then when you don't come up with the right ways, then we're going to guide you on what you need to go ahead and do, how you need to think, how to go ahead and really change your thought process so that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. And this one example happens to me literally many times during the course of the week when I'm dealing with multi-billion-dollar companies. Okay, when I'm dealing with other, right, organizations. Okay, because one, I know how to present the information properly. I know how to go ahead and make the connection. I know how to go ahead and do things in a non-adversarial way, contrary to how I was taught in law school. So that people really understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and want to help you do it. Isn't that a hell of a lot better system? And you think I'm going to get there if I engage by being obnoxious, or I engage, right, by being disinterested? No. You get there because you're making connections. And it's fundamental. And with everything you're doing, whether it's graphic design, you've got to know how to communicate to make connections in the work that you're doing. IT, same way. Okay. And you're going to learn more and more, about how you can do things. This mentorship program will help you throughout your entire career, but it will also help you personally in how you deal with the utility company, how you deal with the phone company. We all hate dealing with the phone company. See, that was another joke. That was an opportunity for you to go ahead and say, oh yeah, my God, unless your parents are paying for your phone bill, right? And then you don't really care. Okay, see, that was another joke. See, right? This time Richard smiled. Okay. So you're going to go ahead and complete, right, the fields here as best you can. You can put in, hey, I'd like to be part of these executive positions in the future. Okay. But what does that depend on? 4 things: desire, determination, willingness to learn, and how you take action. Okay. So that's the framework that governs everything that we do. You're going to get an email which you're going to have next steps. When you complete those next steps in the next few days, you're also then going to set up a time to meet with me individually, personally, where I'm going to go ahead and say, Kyle, introduce yourself. And you're going to say, hi, my name's Kyle Witt, and I'm going to blah, blah, blah. My major is blah, 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 and I'm interested in this program because of blah, blah, blah. Right, Kyle? And you're not going to tell me because you want to gain experience, because everyone who comes into the program, whether you're undergraduate, graduate, master's student, whether you're postgraduate, is interested in gaining experience through our program. So we already know that. But what is the connection between you and our program? okay? And then what I'm going to do is, based on your background, based on your interests, I'm going to say, hey, this is the program. These are the programs you're going to work on. And then I'm going to explain the programs, and you're going to say, oh my goodness, that's such an unbelievable opportunity. I never thought I would go ahead and have this. This is completely different than anything I thought I was going to be able to get. And then you're going to smile because you're going to remember at the last moment, I got to smile. Okay, see, that was a joke. All right, so, right. And guess what, guys? How many of you have had COVID-19? Raise your hand. Wow. Only Sharia? And pardon me if I said that wrong. Right, you'll correct me. Wow.
Yeah, but it's pronounced as Shreya, sorry.
Shreya, okay, thank you. So you and I have something in common. I got COVID in March of this year after being incredibly careful for an entire year. Has not been fun. Okay, so I'm just now getting over it. And the last symptom I have is I've had headaches solid for 1 week. And I'm able to come on to meetings, and not one of you would have known that I have COVID and that I really have a splitting headache that I can't get rid of, because I'm able to focus on my objective, devote 100% of my attention to it, and I'm able to block out other things, including how I feel physically, because my mind controls my level of success. That's what leaders do, okay? Or that's what warriors do. So if you want to think of yourself as a warrior in your industry, by all means, maybe we can start a warrior class as opposed to just well, we have an ambassador class. We got a peace laureate class. So I don't think the warrior moniker is going to work too well. Okay, so we'll have to come up with something different. So what's going to happen is during this one-on-one, we're going to go over the programs that you're going to be working on in your internship. Okay, and what we hope to do during this time is to get you excited about what you're going to be working on, where you're going to be engaged, where you're going to say, oh my goodness, I can really make an impact. And this is really going to help me with my career. Ding, 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 ding. Right? Isn't that what you want? Do you want to go ahead and go into a program where they tell you what you're going to be working on and you've got no choice and it has nothing to do with your interests? Is that what you want? Okay. So you're not going to get that. Fine. I'm easy. I might sound like I'm hard, but I'm easy. Okay. Except if you're going to fight me on something that's in your best interest. Okay. Then I'm going to be a hard ass. You know, the thing is that I said before, determination is a characteristic that you really need to be successful in our organization. And the reason why is because the work that you're going to be doing, you're not familiar with how to do it to the level that we're talking about. So that's hard. It's easy to do the things we know how to do. We know how to be great students. We know how to turn in assignments, right? We know how to do tasks. You don't know how to do objectives. Not all the way, a little bit, okay? You don't know how to build systems. You're going to learn, right? Not all at once, because we don't want to go ahead and have your brain explode, okay? But systematically, starting with foundation and then building on that, so that as you progress through the program, you're learning more, you're applying more, you're seeing more. Your vision of what you're capable of doing is tremendously expanded. Because what's our goal for you? Is to make an impact. So the thing is, the evaluations you get on your work, we had one student who was a writer, and she was like, I don't understand, Mr. Benjamin, why you don't think I can write? I get A's in all my writing classes. I said, because you write like a student. Okay, you don't write for the real world. You write like everything is an essay. You're not making the connections early on. You're not talking about what their objectives are. You're not doing transitions properly, okay? You're not going ahead and having a call to action in what you need to, what you need to, to give them to do. Okay, so that person has to rewrite in order to get it right. Ooh, I like that. I just first time I ever said that. Okay. And thank you for smiling, people. Okay. I really want to see Bobby smile, man. Come on, Bobby. There you go. Okay. Connor? Yes. I'm talking to you. Yes. Thank you for going ahead. Quick response. You play sports?
I used to, but not anymore. I did do a lot of swimming, which I'm pretty good at.
Good.
I also used to play basketball, but that wasn't really my forte.
Okay. Well, we're going to throw you in the deep end sometime, and we're going to see how you swim. Okay. That's figuratively. But don't worry, we have life preservers all over the place. All right. So cool. Okay. So the thing is, after your one-on-one, your internship might be summer. Some of you might be fall. What's going to happen is you're going to do what we call a preliminary internship, which is really you're going to volunteer X number of hours per week, and you can set that. Normally, we say 5 hours is fine, and it doesn't have to be during normal business hours. Our normal business hours are, 7 days a week, right? We deal with international, okay, people, organizations. So, we go ahead and we have flexibility. And during that time, you're going to work on one project, not 3. You're going to learn our company procedures, our policies. You're going to learn how to do some of the foundation skills that you need to properly do your internship. Because when you come in, we don't want you starting cold. You're going to get overwhelmed tremendously. And you're going to be right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of these programs, and you're not going to be able to do anything because you're going to be overwhelmed with learning company policies, procedures, and getting corrected on all that stuff. So that's what you're going to use the preliminary, your volunteer time on initially, so that you're going through one program, you're learning what you're going to be doing later on in a much more advanced way later on, but you're getting familiar with how to really utilize those 8 foundation skills, which will make you successful. Okay. And what you're doing is you're showing that you have desire, right? Determination, willingness to learn, and you're going to take action on it. Okay. So that's how the system's set up. Now, in terms of the day-to-day when you're in the program, anybody interested in learning about our day-to-day? If you are, right, what hand do you raise? Go ahead. I think we got left and right, right? Remember, what's our health program? You got to alternate arms, man, to get some exercise. Okay. If you do it all right, what happens? You go out at a meeting and you're like walking lopsided. We don't want that for you. Okay. Right. We're all about, quality of life here. Okay. Ashley, right. It's about time that I got a smile. Thank you. That's not really that, I'm on Zoom. I can't really see that. Can you give me a bigger one, please? There, thank you. You might think that I'm just busting your chops about this, which I am, okay? But I use this time for you to go ahead and not only learn all about and really in depth about how we operate in our culture, but the thing is that if you can't handle how we go ahead and ask you to smile during a meeting, how are you going to handle the more advanced stuff? Really? So if you don't like this, okay, either have determination and fight through it because you have that willingness to learn, or, right, don't come back, okay? Because we only want to work with people, right, who want to be managers and leaders. So if you can't follow something as simple as smile, right, you're not going to be able to handle the rest of the program. And we don't want to go ahead and spend the time with someone who doesn't want to go ahead and learn. You see, the thing is, your professors don't care, honestly. They might care, okay, but they're getting paid regardless to care, right? If they weren't getting paid, how many of them would be teaching you? I'm pretty sure it's like slim to none. Okay. So the thing is, you're coming into a training program. And before we talked about, hey, after you graduate, there's continuing ed, there's all these training programs. Those things cost money. And you've got to pay it, or your company's got to pay it on your behalf. This training program that we're putting you through, we could be charging thousands, just like you're paying thousands, right, for one course in a school. Matter of fact, we're going to be introducing our 8 foundation skills to companies where they can go ahead and pay to get certified in the 8 foundation skills. We're doing it for you all for free. But it's not free to us. It costs me and my organization to train you. You know that, right? The time that I'm spending on Saturday afternoon here is time that I could be doing project work. I can be relaxing. I'm not paid to be here. Okay, and you're not paying to have me here. I'm doing it for free for you. So we want to make sure that the people that we bring in really want to go ahead and learn. And that's the only requirement that we have, that you have those 4 characteristics. Okay, and we're going to know that by whether you're going to do the startup steps that we ask you to do. If you don't do them, but you still want to go ahead and have your one-on-one, well, why should I take the time to go ahead and help you when you haven't done some of the preliminary things that we asked you to do? Because when you go into a company, you got to follow company procedures, don't you? The number one problem, right, in companies, right, is that sometimes people don't follow what they're supposed to follow in order to achieve their objectives. Okay. Now, when you don't do things, when you're in the program, we're not going to fire you. We're going to talk to you, and we're going to remind you of what you need to do so that you can be successful. Okay. So the day-to-day, once you're in the program, and we're going to wind this up pretty quickly now because we have an hour and a half allotted for this, in case you didn't know, is you're going to go ahead and sign in by Zoom. Excuse me, not by Zoom, by text messaging. And you're going to text message to either me or the department supervisor or one of the professional success team, right, with what you're going to be working on. And you're not going to write paragraphs. You're going to learn how to do line item outlines about what you're doing, because nobody has time to read paragraphs in the company. You're going to have to learn how to be really succinct with what you're doing and how to express it. Then you're going to get approval. You're going to start doing the work. You're going to pick up where you left off, and you're going to turn it in for review and have a Zoom meeting about it so that you can progress. We don't want you to go ahead and do it 100% and turn it in and then find out that you were on the wrong track, that you didn't incorporate some of the things that you needed to incorporate to achieve your objective. So we do things, we call it the 80-20 rule. I'm not going to get into all the intricacies of how it works now, but the thing is that you're going to show your work consistently to make sure you're on the right track, because we don't want to waste your time also. We want you to be, right, learning, engaged, and producing what can be used in the real world. Okay? So 20 minutes before the end of your day, you're going to do another text message, and you're going to say what you completed or what you achieved, and you're going to be very specific. One of the hardest things that you all need to learn is not to go ahead and speak in generalities. and not to say things like things and stuff to describe your work, right? But to get quantifiable as well with what you've done. Because we want to change your mindset and get you a lot more analytical about your work. Think about it with project management. You're in graphic design and you've got a whole bunch of images to manage. If all of those images, right, that you have to pull out, they're all named image 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How's that going to affect your project management? When they say, I want to locate the one that has, right, the school bus in the background. Good luck. Okay. You're gonna have to go through all of those to find it. So you got to learn, right, what's going to be effective in your area in order to manage your projects. Okay. So we don't want you going through and pulling X number of whatever and then having them mislabeled from the very beginning because you're not doing project management then. So we want to see it, you know, when you go ahead and set up something in IT and in whatever, we don't have you set up the whole thing. We have you go ahead and do a test. And then you show your test. And then you get that evaluated and you got to work on correcting your test before you can go and then, you know, populate it with everything that you need, the right information. So even if you don't have the right videos, right? Even if you don't have the right pictures, you learn how to do FPO, okay? You know, and you learn the things that are used in your particular industry in order to move things forward. And if you're going to turn things in and they're not complete, you're going to learn the language of what you need to say to your coworkers and supervisors so they don't think that you're incompetent. Because I just turned in a project that wasn't complete. Okay, or it had errors in it. All right. So the thing is, these are the things that you're going to learn. This is the system that you're going to do. So 20 minutes before the end of the day, you're going to say, hey, this is what I worked on. This is what I accomplished. And that gives your supervisor the opportunity to say, hey, with this one thing that you were doing, right, I need you to go ahead and take it to the next step before you leave. So you have time to adjust so you can do that. Or I want you to check into something else, right, and get that started, because we don't want to wait till the next day to send out an email, which will then go ahead and delay other people from getting information that they need to move what they're working on ahead. So everybody follow that? Okay. So yeah, you're going to be practicing, right, good corporate policies, procedures, practice in order to go ahead and learn so that you can move up. All right. So I am effectively done for today. Okay. You will be getting an email. There will be links, right? There will be things that you'll do. And what I'd like to do is, you know, be meeting with you in the next week. It could be a little bit longer, possibly, right? But so that we can set the course for what you're going to be doing in your internship mentorship program. We will be meeting every Saturday at this time. And because when you start to do things, you're going to start to go ahead and talk about what you're doing and what you learned and what you accomplished. And you're going to have certain goals within, right, the fields that you're working on, but also in other fields sometimes, because that's going to give you more experience so that you can go ahead and elevate your game. And the last thing I want to do is, one of the last things I want to do probably, is show you what I'm talking about. So let me go to, it's not here. And like I said, there's software that you're going to have to go ahead and learn to utilize as well, so that you know what's going on in your industry. Okay, this is a, who has loaded our app onto their phone? Okay, so good. So a few people have. Okay, now when you loaded it, what did you do? What was the next thing you did? You closed it and put it away. You looked at some of the pictures. Go ahead, Kyle, Andrea, whoever went ahead and loaded it, go ahead, speak up.
I filled out my account information and I started looking through like the clubs and events and the games and everything like that.
Okay, and what did you use to look through them? In terms of, right, did you just click on things randomly? Did you go to the hamburger menu here, click here, right? What did you do?
I didn't actually have the hamburger menu come up for me, so I just went through each section one by one.
Okay, did you see the doc at the bottom? There's a doc?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so the you know, if you see, like, this says app nav, okay, so that's the navigation menu for the app. Okay. And if you go through that, getting to know us, planned acts of kindness, all things related to karma, our COVID-19 initiatives, right, some of our programs, how we work with volunteering, okay, internship, mentorship, okay, and this app, okay, we're in beginning of April. We started building this app in January. Okay. And we're not done with it yet, but the thing is, it's absolutely a great way for people to go ahead and learn about our programs in a very systematic way through the app navigation, and then choose whatever they want to go ahead and do. And one of the things through the club program that you'll have the opportunity to do is participate in our crazy ambitious activities program, because you're going to do time management. Okay, that's a huge thing for you to learn, because in school, right, you're given assignments and you might be given a week, 2 weeks or whatever, sometimes a semester before you got to turn in what you're doing. That has no relationship to the real world. You know that, right? So the thing is, you got to know how long is expected for you to do the things that you're working on. So I often ask our interns, right, when are you going to have that done? And they tell me like 2 days. And I'm like, okay, let's break this down. And then they say, oh, 4 hours. And I say, okay. Now, if you were a professional doing it, you know how long it would take? An hour. Okay. And I said, okay, an hour and a half. We'll give you an hour and a half. Okay. So the thing is, you've got to know how long it's going to take for, you know, in terms of what the company thinks about what you're doing. Because even if you did your work fantastic, but it takes you twice as long to do it, what does that mean? Anybody in business, economics, right? Finance? Who wants to answer that? No? Okay. It means that the company is paying you twice as much to do your work. Okay. And they're going to go ahead and realize that and say, hey, we got to change something here. Can everybody see my screen or no? Yes? Okay. So the thing is, this CAP program, to make the change we desperately need in the world, we need ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Okay. You're going to go ahead and go through all of these things, and you're going to find something that resonates with you. And then you're going to go into a team and you're going to work on accomplishing it during your internship mentorship program. So if you want to go ahead and get in touch with the Pope and get the Pope to endorse our programs because of our twin missions of kindness and climate change, and you have that, you make that happen, well, that's a pretty important thing, and you'll find out what's going to happen after you do that. If you want to take our planned act of kindness programs, our Karma Club, into prisons so that we can change the culture of how people interact with each other and how they influence other people, you can do that. If you like sports and you want to get the NFL or Major League Baseball or the NBA to go ahead and collaborate through our programs, you can do that. If you're into media and you want to get TV networks on their news to stream at the bottom of the screen, it's called a Tryron, right? Our daily planned act of kindness, you can do that. If you want to get involved in our youth and our youth engagement educational programs, you can do that. If you want to have your favorite pizza company put our programs on their pizza boxes where they're delivering millions of them around the country or even around the world, you can do that. If you like music, you can do that. Okay, so the thing is, you're going to go through these programs, you're going to choose something that you want to work on, and you're going to learn how to time manage, because that's not going to be your major focus. You're going to learn how to also work in a team in order to do it. And when you are successful at what you're going to do, we're going to feature you, not just in an app, but in a book with your headshot, with a little bit about your background. And we're going to interview you about what you did to go ahead and make this happen. And it's going to form the basis of social media engagement and also the book, where you're going to be the hero. And what do you think that's going to do? That's going to engage other people. If you can do it, I can do it. Okay? We got one planet. We got one people on the planet. It doesn't matter what language we speak. It doesn't matter what nationality, okay, we have. We've got to work together to succeed. One of the things, and this is the last thing that I'm going to go ahead and show today, you can go ahead and work on our Global Peace Ambassador program, where it takes people's backgrounds of what they're interested in, and they can create messages, talks, videos, graphics for social media. They can post on our world video map. You can do it yourself. You can build a team. You can engage the institutions in what you're doing around the world. And everyone is going to be taking the pact pledge. I hereby make a pact to treat others with respect and kindness, and to go through life from this day forward, acting towards others as I would wish to be treated myself. And this is Angshi from New Delhi in India, right, who did this for Planned Acts of Kindness. It takes 10 seconds to do that. You do it on your phone, you submit it through the app, and it goes into our world video map. And the goal is that we're in all 200 countries by the end of the year. But we're going to have contests also, seeing, right, what individual, what team can go ahead and do outreach to the most number of countries in the world, getting the most number of languages into the world video map. Okay. And when people go into the world video map on their phone or through our game, our One Planet One People, right, digital game, okay, they can go ahead and see people speaking in Japanese, people speaking in, you know, Arabic, people speaking in Chinese, in Portuguese, in Spanish, whatever languages there are in the world. And guess what? Doesn't matter what nationality, doesn't matter what language it is, we're all saying the same thing. We've all made the pledge to go ahead and treat others with respect and kindness. And you see, what we do is, instead of having just each one of these things, that each one of these businesses, or excuse me, each one of these programs are actually, right, can operate as a standalone business. I've gone through some of the social aspects, but for every program that we have a business system, not only to operate it for social networks, okay, or on global social networks around the world, those are the institutions, but we have a business system that governs how we interact also with the institutions. This is entrepreneurial social responsibility at a tremendously high level. So if you're interested in business marketing, management, public relations, right, HR, all that good stuff, fundraising, grants, writing, whatever it is, okay, this is your opportunity to learn on the highest level. Because if you majored in marketing for 4 years at a university, when you go into a company, guess what? You're not doing marketing, you're doing sales. You're not going to go ahead and design a marketing program that a multi-million-dollar company is going to go ahead and implement. Really? You think you are? Not going to happen. Okay? They paid a lot of money to go ahead and develop that program. They're not going to go ahead and let someone, right, from college come in and change what they're going to do. You're doing sales. They need workers. They need sales. Okay? That's not what you're going to be doing with us. You're going to learn from the ground up. Okay? And then there's different videos that can be done also. So there's tremendous opportunities for you to go ahead and utilize all these skills in conjunction so that you can make an impact. Because if you do one of these things successfully, and that goes on your resume, that goes in your letter of recommendation, that goes in your portfolio, you know what you've done? You've just separated yourself from 99.999% of the other applicants. And this is something that if you accomplish, no one can take away from you for the rest of your life. I made this happen. Okay? And that's a big deal. Okay? I want to do this. I made this happen. So everybody get that? Okay. So before we wrap up, anyone have anything they'd like to express? If you do, raise your hand. So everybody good? Everybody can't wait to get off the call? Okay. Now, some of you responded to that with a smile, and I appreciate that, because the last thing we do when we wrap up all of our meetings, even with our professional success team, and I don't have to tell them this because they're already doing it. We wrap it up with a smile. Okay. So who wants to smile now or hear one more example of, right, what we do in the real world and what type of impact we can have? What type of impact you could be working on something and what type of impact you can have? Who wants to hear one more story? Raise your hand. Who wants to go ahead and just smile and get the hell off this call, right? And go enjoy the sunshine. Either way, right? If you want to just go ahead and get off the call and you don't want to listen to another story, that's okay with me. You can smile and say bye. If you want to stay on and listen to another story about something that happened this week in our organization, you'll stay on and I'll share it, right? We give you choices in our organization. We don't just tell you what you're going to do. How's that, right? Go work for a company, see if they're going to give you choices. Ah, okay. So I'm going to start my story. If you want to stay on, stay on. All right. Earlier this week, I met with someone who is volunteering with our professional success team. And she's in the pharmaceutical industry. She's worked for Pfizer and she was project manager on manufacturing for vaccines. Kind of a high level position, okay? Meeting with C-suite in Pfizer in order to go ahead and move this forward. So we sharing information about our programs. One of our programs is Project Cope, which I explained earlier. And I talked to her about the system that I had set up where you take an assessment, you do the planned acts of kindness through the Karma Club, and every 2 weeks you take the assessment again. And then that gives you your health wellness score and also your risk factor score. She started laughing. And she said, I'm working for Johnson & Johnson now. Everybody know Johnson & Johnson? They're just like Pfizer, okay? And she said, the project I'm working on is I had to develop an assessment, series of questions. We're doing a clinical trial on a biologic. And people then take the biologic and then every 2 weeks they retake the assessment. And they do this over a 6-month trial. So we know what their benchmark or the baseline is, and we know how the biologic affected the efficacy, okay, of the drug. So It's the exact same system that I set up for Project Hope. And she was laughing because there was that much synergy between what we're doing as a nonprofit, okay, and what her multi-billion-dollar companies hired her to do. And she said, this is tremendous. This is absolutely great because your program can really make a difference by going into schools, going into faith-based, going into nonprofits, going into companies, governments, okay, where it can be part of their wellness program. So we've already had, since that happened, a couple of subsequent meetings along with Alfonso in Spain, right, who's our IT app development program manager for this, right, including master's students, right, who's doing working on analytics for this, and some other people as well who are involved. So what I said to Rachel is, it's nice to know, right, that we can develop programs even though we're not in your field, okay, that coincide with what your objectives are, and you can see how we can work together to achieve those objectives. And there's that much synergy. And you see, that's what we have the ability to do. That's how I was able to go ahead and talk to Pfizer earlier. And they were interested in having us develop a book and a safety app for their organization worldwide. That's how I was able to talk to Kroger Groceries about a food loss hunger. That's how I was able to talk to Wesleyan Church, right? And they agreed to do a book on community outreach. International Women's Organization, okay? You know, the UN with the mental health issues. So the thing is, whatever your background is, whatever your interests are, right? We're gonna work with you to develop those where you can work on things of significance, okay? And you never know who we're going to be partnering with, right? The Peace Corps, which is an international, you know, U.S. Quasi-government organization, has reviewed our programs and made us a partner so we can offer our programs to their thousands and thousands of Peace Corps volunteers. Okay, so right, I encourage you, come in, go ahead, and let's see what we can do together. Let's make you the hero, because that's what we need in the world. Okay. So thank you very much for listening. We're going to end the meeting now. We're going to get you materials. And I see some of you are smiling. Okay. Because, right, we're not going to end the meeting until you're smiling. So Bobby, step up. You're a team player. Come on. Right. Right. Shreya. You can do better than that. There we are. Andrea is doing great. Andrea, is it Andrea or Andrea?
It's actually Andrea.
Andrea, that is my favorite name on the planet.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear it. I like it too.
Well, thank you. You know, listen, have you ever seen a cartoon called Reboot?
No, I haven't.
Look it up on the internet. Okay, I don't know if you like cartoons or whatever. It was one of the first graphic CGI done cartoons in the world. Okay,
Oh, cool.
in the 1980s. But the storyline is fantastic. And one of the sprites in the game, and that's where I first heard the name, Andrea. And she is so cool.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
definitely look into that. There's not a lot of Andreas.
Right. So, and she pronounced it Andrea, and you know, if I was a girl, I'd go ahead and have her as my my avatar. No. Okay. But anyway, all right. So, you know, sometimes during these meetings we go off track, right? Because it's not only about the work, it's also about life. Okay. So, and we're all part of it. We're all subject to the same things that are going around, unfortunately, right? So we got to make the world a little bit better place. And how do we do that? Back to the old standby. Smile and goodbye. We'll be in touch. Thank you very much for sharing your afternoon. Okay. And look forward to going ahead and seeing you. Look forward to mentoring you. Look forward to making you guys heroes. Okay. So even 5 years, 10 years down the road, some of my interns still go ahead and keep in touch. We want to see what you're doing. and the impact that you're making in the world. And maybe we had a little piece of that. So thank you. Okay. Have a great rest of your day. I'm going to go take care of my headache from COVID. Okay. Take care.
Thank you for
Bye-bye,
your
guys.
time. Goodbye.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
But by the way, can you put the Google form link that we need to fill our school and our
Yeah.
name?
I didn't put it in the chat, but we're going to send you.
All right, thank you, man.
Okay.
Have a
Thank
good
you very
weekend.
much. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.